I'm going to come back for it later with the wife. Is that all right?
Right.
We're not going to have any dramas.
I believe you.
Yeah? Well, that makes a change. This video is sponsored by Vehicle Score. Vehicle Score is a free vehicle checking service which you can visit by going to vehiclescore.co.uk. Simply type in a registration number and you will get a unique score to your vehicle. You can compare your score to the average in Vehicle Score's database. It's full of free useful information such as a mileage tracker history. It gives you a comprehensive breakdown of your MOT history for things like advisories and also wear and tear items. It gives you performance data, an estimated valuation, an estimated lifespan of the vehicle compared to others like it. It's full of free useful information. Also as well, they also have their 2 new features, including the new car insurance tip section to help you save money on your next car insurance quote, and their new AI mechanic, which will help you if you have any issues with a car, trying to diagnose any faults or common issues you might be having with a particular vehicle. But it doesn't end there, because Vehicle Score also offer their paid checks. These checks start from less than a cup of coffee and will check to see things like if your vehicle has ever been involved in an accident, whether it's been written off by an insurance company to a Category N or a Category S. Maybe it's an unrecorded write-off, so it's gone for a salvage auction and you weren't aware of it. It'll also check to see if your vehicle's ever been imported or exported, ever been used as a taxi, has outstanding finance. They offer some of the most comprehensive checks out there, and all this information is assured with their £10,000 data guarantee. The paid checks are some of the most comprehensive priced out there, and it gets better because you guys get a discount. Simply use the promo code CARUK20 to get 20% off any of those paid checks. But remember guys, the basic service is completely free and it's constantly evolving. So make sure you download the Vehicle Score app, get yourself over to vehiclescore.co.uk and give them a try. Hi there all, welcome back to the channel. You join me in a field, would you believe, at Aston Barclay, where we're about to pick up a car. We're picking up a couple of cars actually. We're here collecting and buying. Now what we're picking up today, well, as the title suggests, we are picking up a Range Rover Evoque, which I have bought with reluctance, I must add, for the wife. Finally going to get her out of that big full-size Range Rover Sport she's got, which we'll have to do some video on as we try and dispose of that. Now I'll give you some background to this. The wife drives a big old Range Rover Sport tub thing, old thing on a 50, I think it's 59 or 60 plate, somewhere around there. Facelift, well, it was facelifted, the oldest shape we used to call them, 3 litre diesel, which she likes, enjoys. She didn't necessarily wanted that car originally, she sort of fell into it. I used to have a Range Rover, an older one, and she borrowed that for a while she had some problems with her after an accident. She couldn't drive a manual for a while, and then basically just got sort of stuck with it. And yeah, I ended up sort of having to give her my old car, and then when she wanted to replace that one, because it was getting a bit ropey, we got her another one, and it just sort of seems to have got stuck with having these big Range Rovers, which are lovely to drive, but they do have problems. One, they're quite unreliable, although hers hasn't been terrible, I must add. It's been okay, but it's had its moments. They're extremely expensive to run on fuel, you know, 20s to the gallon, 25 to the gallon, low 20s if you're around town, which the wife does a lot of town driving. And the road tax is astronomical. I mean, it's costing me like nearly £700 or £800 a year now. It's just gone up again in April to tax the damn thing. So I've just basically sort of said to her, look, we need to get you out of this car. You've had it for years now. It's getting towards the sort of end of its life. It's probably only got a few years left in it, let's be realistic. And I just prefer it if she wasn't driving around in a big daft thing that's costing too much to fuel and tax. The idea being that if you get her in something more economical and a bit less tax on it, she'll probably save probably £100 a month just in tax and fuel, which will probably outset the difference of buying another car time you sold the old one. Get me logic. Anyway, that's the theory, but what is the reality? Well, the reality is we finally managed to find a car that I think will fit the bill. And in fact, it's right here now. Let me show you what I have bought. Here it is, the Range Rover Evoque. Now, background to this one, it is a 2013, as you can see, 2.2 diesel. It is in blue. I think it's called Mauritius blue, this, which is quite a rare colour, with the black as well. It's a nice thing with black wheels, and I'm not a fan of black wheels. However, with the colour coordination of the rest of the car, I actually quite like that. I'm not just saying that because I've just bought it, but genuinely I actually think not having black wheels would not suit that car. Now that's a car that deserves black wheels, I'll go with that. Now it's a one former keeper car. It is the old 2.2 diesel engine. It's an automatic because the wife actually drives a manual, but she prefers auto, and to be honest with you, I think I'd prefer an auto in this. Now the 2.2 diesel in these is actually quite good. These get a lot of stick, these Evoques, and I'm not saying they're reliable, let's not put it in that category, but the 2.2 diesel is a good engine. It's far better than the later 2 litre diesel engine, the one I can't pronounce, which is here, down to my dyslexia. But yeah, that engine, the 2 litre, that one, is not one that I recommend. They are far better on fuel,
but they're not reliable. They're not reliable. They suffer with all sorts of problems, coking up, oil consumption problems, clogging up, just chain issues, braking guides. They're just not great and expensive to fix. The old 2.2 diesel engine, a lot more reliable, very little goes wrong with them, and they're just a generally decent all-rounder. Now, not as good on fuel, but it's certainly going to be better than the old Range Rover Sport that she's currently driving now. Should get probably 8-9 more miles to the gallon out of this, easily. It's nice, like I said, so personally, my preference, if you're going to buy one of these, pre-2015, it's probably the ones you'd be looking for to get the 2.2 diesel. If you're going to buy a 2-litre diesel, well, we'll probably cover those in another video, because at some point we'll probably end up with one on the pitch, or buying or selling one or whatever. But yeah, you've got to be careful with the 2 litres. Anyway, this is a 2.2, so what does it matter? Let's show you around it. It is a nice old thing. It has got lots of history as well. There's a couple of little marks on it, but it is, you know, it's what, getting on to 11 years old, so it's going to have a few little nicks, but it's a presentable car. Price-wise, that's probably what you're thinking, what forgive for it? I'd give all the money, I'll be honest with you. It wasn't a cheap car. It was not a cheap car. It's one of those ones where hearts rule ahead. It's booking at around 4.8 to 6.4. Now, in reality, it was never going to do £4,800. That was bottom book, and it isn't bottom book. It's probably better than average, but not quite clean money. Clean money was about 6.2, and I think average was about 58, somewhere around there. Now, I've given more than that. This is costing me nearly £7,000 out the door, so I must have paid about 6.6 for it, 6.7. So I've overpaid. I've overpaid by about 500 quid. Probably more than that, probably 800 quid over. However, retail on it's £9,000 or over £9,000, and the colour is the big key point to this. So even if the wife didn't want it and couldn't get to grips with it, at least there's an avenue out for it. It wants a little bit of bettling here and there. There's a few bits of trims that want smartening up, and the wheels want maybe attention, one or two of them. But you could get probably 92.50 for that retail. Doing my research on it, and I think you'll sell it because most of these things you see are white or silvers and blacks. You don't see many with that colour, and you'll be amazed when a good colour car can just you know, you can command more money for it. So you don't always go off what the book price says. If you've got one that's in silver and one that's in blue, you're going to argue that most people are going to be drawn to something like this. Anyway, let's not think about that, because we're not planning on selling it. It's planning on getting her out of the old car and get her in this. So we've got a couple of keys for it. Key wants a little bit of a refurb, but ironically I have got a spare one of these at home for some reason, a spare casing for one of these. I don't know why I've ended up with one of those. Probably bought it in error. Let's have a look inside. Done 108, so it's a little bit mileagey, but she doesn't do that many miles. I would imagine she's probably going to do 10,000 miles in 3 years, so it's not really the end of the world. Like I said, it was just one of these cars you're just going to keep for a few years, and whatever it is, what it is, into, you know, it's not a financial investment. Right, start it up. It's keyless, obviously. I'll throw that down there. We've got a triangle up there, smart key, battery low, typical Land Rover. So we want to key in the battery. That's nearly there, that's not to worry about. Steering feels all right. We've got paddles, so this is nice touch. See what it's like in gear. Got the old little pie dish here, upturned pie dish. Going in all right. Things check on these from memory. What I remember on these, can suffer the auto boxes with a little bit of judder, so you have to be set off and see. No, that one seems all right. That's not too bad. Usually in first gear you get a little bit of judder. Not the end of the world. Usually on these, I've had a couple where I've had to sort of repair them in the past. Changing the fluid in these auto boxes is quite crucial. You need to change these quite regular. You know, I'd say, you know, every sort of 30-40,000 miles as a rule of thumb you'll be changing the auto box fluid in these personally. Others will disagree and say that, you know, they're a lot longer than that. Some even say for lifetime boxes you don't need to change the fluid. But I have seen a few with sort of it was a ropey sort of gearing, or you know, juddery gears. And like I said, a good service on these is just change. Honestly, game changer. They just go really smooth when you do that. Also as well, you can put some additives in them as well. Obviously heated seats. We've got nav. We've got a nice bit of trim on here as well. The seats are nice. We've got nice sort of two-tone seats in it. It's all right, really. A little bit of wear on the back seats, which is quite surprising. They've been used quite well, should we say? Roof. Look at that pan roof. Does it work? Oh, I thought I was going to say no then. No, it does. There you go. We've got a working roof. Backwards and forward. Very good. Do we got heaters working? I have seen a couple of these with dodgy heaters. Yeah, it seems to be working fine. Let's put the aircon on. I doubt the aircon work. I'll be amazed, but we'll never know. You might be in luck. Save a bit of money on the gassing, because it's just the weather's going to start turning soon. Leave that to fester for a minute. Let's have a look in the old stereo. Tuned into 102.6 local radio station. Local car history, by the way, quite comprehensive. See, one former keeper, spare key, rucks of history, including recent servicing. There's loads in there. There's a bit of main agent service history and also some independent Land Rover specialist history as well. I've gone through that quite thoroughly, so I'm quite pleased with that. Anyway, we need to get out of the auction, so we're going to get past the gate man first. So we'll park this one up. Can actually vouch, actually, the aircon is really cold. Actually, that's working. That's a good sign. But we need to go for a drive. So I'm going to go out now. I'm not sure I'm going to pick this car up today or later on, but the next clip you'll see will be, we'll rig up the camera, wherever that is, whether it's here or back at base, and we'll go for a proper driving at a test drive. I'll talk a bit more about the Evoque, what you got to look out for when buying them, and hopefully see if this one's all right. Fingers crossed it is, because I don't want any hassle. I just want a smooth transaction to get the wife out of one car into another without spending too much money on it. But anyway, let's find out. Let's get past the gate man first. Very happy with it.
Hello, you have a lovely time in this lovely car.
Yeah, well, I'm hoping so.
I think.
Now, Fiesta on there. I'm gonna get that out. I'm gonna park this up. I'm gonna come back for it later with the wife. Is that all right?
Right.
We're not gonna have any dramas.
I believe you.
Yeah, well, that makes a change. Right, back on the road. We've got past the gate man. How is the Evoque driving? Well, I have to say, really, really well. Quite surprised actually. I was expecting something not to be right with it. But so far, so good. The only thing I can report at the moment is that I've got a warning lamp on for one of the key fob batteries. So the little wireless keys they have, one of the batteries is going down in these, which seems to be quite a common thing on these Evoques. I've driven loads of these, picked up loads for MOTs, and I see loads of them with this key fob battery fault, so they seem to just chew through batteries. Anyway, we've got a spare fob for it, put some batteries in it, we'll sort that. That's not really a major issue. The car itself is driving absolutely superb. The gearbox is lovely and smooth, it's changing up properly, the paddles are working properly as well. We've got no judder in the gearbox as well, which is an issue on some of these I've seen in the past. Particularly the boxes have not been well serviced, something that we'll do on this regardless anyway. The engine's pulling really well, we've got no smoke coming out the back of it. Absolutely sublime to drive. Brakes seem pretty decent as well. I have seen an advisory on the service history going back about a year or so ago for pitted discs, so we'll definitely have a look at those later on and get them on the ramp and see what it needs ordering. But other than that, really, I've got nothing else much to report. There's no suspension noises or anything like that. It's driving superb. Crucially as well, we've also checked the four-wheel drive system, so I've been playing with the buttons, making sure all the settings are working on there, and also making sure you get up to speed. In fact, a dealer mentioned to me this recently, actually, when I was leaving, when he saw I bought this, he was saying really how good they were, these 2.2 diesels, and the only a couple of issues that he sort of come across. He buys a lot of them. Now, I've dealt with these a lot myself. I've driven lots of them in MOT quite a lot. I know they do suffer with diff issues, particularly obviously on the four-wheel drive ones. Now, how you'd spot that is obviously at high speed, you've got noisy diffs, you'd actually hear it whining or sort of making a sort of a wheel bearing type noise. It's really, really obvious. Also as well, at low speeds, particularly when you're sort of setting off, parking up or pulling out somewhere and you've got it on hard lock to one side, you'll feel a real sort of tightness in the steering, and when you set off you can feel that sort of tightness in the drive, almost like a drag coming from the back. That's also the sign of a rear diff on its way out. So always make sure you check that on the four-wheel drive versions. Other than that, on these, making sure you're checking out for obviously warning lights. They do suffer with EGR faults. I've seen a few of these of EGRs going down. This one, I've had a look for the service history. It's had the EGRs changed just the other year, so we've got nothing to worry about there. That's good news, because that can be quite expensive to fix. There's a couple of turbo pipes that go on the front as well, but again, that'll be obvious because they're going to limp mode, or they'll kick out a ruck of smoke and you'll get no sort of performance. That's really the major things on these you need to be looking out for. I have seen a few with injector issues. This 2.2 Ford engine did suffer with a couple of injector problems over the years, but it's nothing too horrific, and to be honest with you, it's not too bad to sort out. Now, this 2.2 diesel engine they used was from launch and went up to about 2015, I think late 15. I've seen some late 16 cars before the sort of changeover, if you like, the facelift design came out. When they brought out the 2016 models, they were all then 2-litre diesels. They got rid of this 2.2. Now, obviously, there's a few reasons for that. One is because every manufacturer was climbing to get towards Euro 6 in 2016. So obviously, a new engine was developed. I think think it was in the plans anyway. It was there as well to try and increase the fuel economy as well, because the 2.2, to be honest with you, it's not great on fuel for what it is. You expect it to do a little bit more, particularly in auto boxes. It's particularly not great. A manual probably do about 4 or 5 miles to the gallon more than equivalent auto. The manufacturer claims these will do around 40 odd to the gallon average. In reality, that's not going to happen. In the real world, you'll find really these are going to be doing low 30s in sort of mixed driving, town driving, a bit of A-road driving. 30 to 36 miles to the gallon is more realistic. You might get more on a run. On a motorway, definitely could push the 40s. But sort of round town and going on the A-roads, you're going to get in the low 30s. Like I said, you'll get a bit more out of a manual. Now you compare that to the later engine, the 2 litre, the one I can't pronounce, Ingenium, whatever it is, again, name is there. The fuel economy on those is far, far better, and I know a few people who have got those and say how much better they are on fuel. However, they are not reliable engines. You compare the 2 litre to the old 2.2 in this, honestly, it's like night and day, which is why I will just not recommend anyone to buy one of those later 2 litres in any of the platforms, whether it's in the Evoques, the Discovery Sports, or even the big Jag crossovers as well. It's a lovely engine to drive, the 2 litre, and if you're buying one a few years old, I wouldn't be worried, but it does suffer with timing chain issues, also suffers of oil consumption problems, oil thickening up and blocking oilways. The timing chains, like I said, are a major issue where they basically stretch, or in some cases the guides can fall off, which, you know, if the chain was actually really accessible and was something you could service and could sort out quickly, or you could buy one and, you know, look to get it changed, so you could sort of price that in if you like, it was cost effective, but it isn't. The job is an absolute nightmare to do. It's almost stripping down the entire engine, and you've got to take the gearbox out to do it. It's really, really expensive. Most specialists are going to charge you upwards near £2,000 to have that done. It's not a particularly easy serviceable item, and they are common for going, really common. 2.2 is a cam belt driven engine. It might be old school, but at least it's reliable, although, like I said, fuel economy will take a bit of a hit. However, for me, I'm not too worried about that. I'm looking at this perspective really of giving this to the wife and getting her car out of her hands basically and get rid of it. So I'm looking at it really from that perspective. The fuel economy from that big Range Rover Sport that she drives, big DAF 3 litre thing from 2010 I think it was, average really on a good run could probably do about 30 to the gallon. Round town driving she's doing is more like 24, 25. So we're going to get probably another 7 or 8, 9 miles to the gallon out of this, doing like for like journeys. Plus we've got a bit more reliability. A 3 litre Range Rover of that age is not the most reliable of cars. And there's the road tax issue as well. These aren't cheap road tax, but it's far cheaper than this 800 odd pounds or near 800 pounds I'm paying for it to run around in a Range Rover. So there's like I said there's another big saving to be had. Take all those savings into account. If you keep this car for a few more years, it makes more logical sense to be driving around something like this than it is to be driving around in a big daft old Range Rover that's probably towards the end of its life. However, I've got to convince her to have this car first, which she might not like it, and basically have done this all for nothing. We'll have to see. I think she will go for it, but we still need to work on the basis that I might need to retail this car. I might need to sell it on if she doesn't like it or she can't get to grips with it. So that's the logic I've got in place with what I need to do to it. Now, I've overpaid for this car. I wouldn't be buying this sort of thing anyway. This is not the sort of stuff I buy, but I'm more than capable of retailing it. But we are starting from a real negative position. We'd probably give about £500–600 more than we should have done for this car. But luckily the prep side of it isn't too bad. I mean, on first glance so far, from what I can see, I don't think we're going to spend too much. It definitely needs the wheels refurbing because they are horrible. I don't bother about the colour. I'm not a great fan of black wheels, but in this case it does work. They definitely want repainting black, which I can get done. That's not a big issue. Also, one of the lights is broken as well on the near side rear. Had a quick look through eBay. The standard lights for these are replacements are about £80. However, this has got quite a specialist lighted, a limited edition one, and it's about, well, not quite double, it's 120 quid the lamp is, which I've ordered one now anyway, because regardless, I'm going to need one. We've also ordered some trim bits as well down the bottom where the arch liners are. I'll show you a picture of one on the driver's side that's split. That's come off. They come in pairs, so I've ordered a pair of those to replace that offside front. So at the moment in my head, quick maths, my wheels, I pay about 40–50 quid a wheel to have refurbed. I spent about £160 from trim bits. There's going to be a service pack. We need to do an auto box flush and stuff like that. Realistically, I don't think we're going to spend more than sort of, what, £400–500 on prep to get this absolutely looking lovely and ready for retail on the fallback position if she doesn't want the car. What's it worth? Quick look online, the cheapest I could find in this spec colour is about 9 grand, and that's for a car that's about a year older. So you can argue this is probably worth 9250. That's where I sort of saw it originally and where the guide was suggesting. I think that's pretty much spot on. I'll probably stick it up at 8995 and would sell it, no issues. And like I said, I won't be too worried about selling one of these. I'm not a sort of fan of them. It's not the sort of stuff that I would sell, but I know if I am going to sell an Evoque, it's definitely going to be one of these 2.2 diesels. It certainly wouldn't be a later 2-litre one. Anyway, I'm going to get this back now, carry on with the day, and then later on I'll show it the wife, take her out for driving it, make sure she likes it. I think she will probably go for it because it's the right colour for her. She wants an Autobox because she could drive manuals, but she's got a bad leg. She had a car accident many years ago, and quite a bad accident, and so she prefers autos. So I think she'll go for it. But you see, you just never know. You know what women are like. They can be fussy buggers, can't they? We'll see how we go, and I'll let you know what's going to be happening with this Evoque going forward. Okay, right, it's a few days later, and good news. The wife, I can confirm, has gone for the Evoque. She absolutely loves the car. In fact, there's a video of her shooting off in it just the other day. Been using it the last few days, been no issues at all. She loves it. I've used it as well a couple of times, been out on it on some longer journeys. Absolutely faultless, working perfectly. So now we've got to go through that sort of transition of getting the car sort of get some more work done to it, sort of, you know, get it ready and give it to her properly when it's all sort of been done, dusted, and got all the bits on it looking nice. So I say we've got those trim bits ordered. I've ordered mats. It needs valeting. We're going to get the wheels sorted. In fact, the car is now back on site here on stands, ready for the wheels to go off to paint. But we should get that sorted in the next few days, get a number plate turned, changed over and all that rubbish, and then we can then finally give her the car, and then she can go off and do what she likes with it. Then we need to turn our attentions to her present car, the Range Rover Sport, what we're going to do with that vehicle. Now, there's a few options open to us with the Range Rover Sport. The first one, we could just look to put it in an auction. Second one, we could just trade it on. Third option, we could retail it, although I'm not going to be going down that route. I'll put that straight out there now. It is definitely not being retailed on this pitch, simply because they're just not reliable things. Hers actually is driving all right, but the point is, I know what they are like. We have to give warranties with these vehicles. We sell in a retail environment. We're bound by Consumer Rights Acts, etc. when retailing a car, so I don't want to be going down that route with it. It's just not a car that I want to be retailing. It's like throwing a dice, honestly. It's a real gamble. Now, the fourth option we could do is private sell it, and the reality is, the actual car belongs to my wife. It is her personal car. She could sell a car in the same way that you could sell a car to someone else. It'd be sold as seen. It's, you know, buyer beware, but it's no different. We could look to do that as well. It is her personal car. It's not a company vehicle. So we could potentially look to do that. I could sell it from my home address and sell it in the same way that you and I would put a car on Horse Trader or Facebook or whatever you wanted to put, or whatever platform you wanted to, or eBay, for example. So then we've got a few options there. I want to try and recoup as much money back as I can, but I also need to weigh up that I'm not spending money on it, which I'm not going to get back. So we need to go through the car, look at it, see what we need to do to it, see what it's worth, go for a drive in it, have a chat about it, see what we can try and obtain for it, and maybe just talk about the Range Rover Sport in general, maybe just talk about what you need to look out for when buying them and stuff like that. But that is a video for another day. But for now, I'm just pleased that she has gone for that Evoque. Get her out of that Range Rover Sport, save a little bit of money, get some reliability back. They're not particularly reliable cars, Evoques, compared to maybe some other models, but they're certainly more reliable than that big tubby Range Rover Sport that we're going to get our hands back on and get rid of. So it gives me a little bit of peace of mind and saves her quite a bit of money as well on that fuel and road tax, which is really good. And also, she's got herself a newer car, slightly newer car, and something that she likes and wants, and, you know, at the end of the day, she works hard, why not? So a great relief, we'll get it finished off this week. It's now back on site, the car, having all the bits thrown on it, all the trim bits, and hopefully get it back to it at the end of the week and get on that Range Rover Sport and start filming it. So we'll catch up with that in a future video. But for the meantime, thank you for watching this video. If you haven't done so already, please like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already done so, and I'll see you all in the next one.